Jake Paul yet again beats another old MMA fighter. Honestly made it look pretty easy until the later rounds before the 10th. Because the 10th round, Nate Diaz looked like he just gave up on winning and just wanted to make a show of the whole thing. His boxing actually looked much better even from the Tommy Fury fight. He said he got a new camp. It looks like he definitely improved. His cardio doesn't really make sense. For a power puncher of his size, to be part of a fast-paced fight like that and not gas out is kinda crazy. Up until the 7th round, he even had more output than Nate Diaz. He threw like over 300 punches, and Nate didn't even throw 300 by that time. He had a lot of body work. He threw a couple overhands, but didn't throw them as much as he used to, tightening his punches a lot more. And this is something I talked about in the prediction video. If Jake Paul tightens his punches, throws them down the pipe, he's gonna have much more success. And that's actually what happened here. But the biggest success he had was that check left hook. He dropped Nate Diaz. It was a shot to the temple that knocked Nate's equilibrium off. It was a shot to the equilibrium, and Nate fell unlike I've ever seen him before. Face first and tried to get his balance, but just couldn't for a moment. It looked like his head even hit the cameras, but the guy's as tough as they come. At his older age and still able to take all that damage from Jake Paul. Getting up for the knockdown. Big shots to the head as well. Nate Diaz is a legend. He had some moments in the fight when he made it a scrap. The less technical the fight was, the better he was doing. The clinch was definitely the place he wanted to be because he was losing at a distance. Jake Paul was much faster. He just looked athletically superior to Nate Diaz, and Nate had a hard time making it a scrap from a distance. He had to get in close because even when he threw his own punches from range, he was getting countered very easily. His head was open, he was reaching over his knees. Just a lot of technical mistakes in Nate Diaz's boxing. But the ways he would try to get into the clinch were like, he would put up a high guard and jump in there. Didn't trust his own punches to get in there. He trusted his guard and potentially even his chin to get into short range, in the clinch, and just start throwing hands. Slap punches are a signature of Nate Diaz, and it looked like it was going to take a toll on Jake Paul, but it really didn't. All that output, all that activity, a lot of the shots all over the place, the clinches, making Jake carry his weight and all of that still did not gas this guy out. And they're looking to do a rematch in MMA, which should be a lot more interesting. Everybody believed that Jake Paul was going to beat Nate, but in an MMA fight, you would have to go with Nate. He nearly got a guillotine in boxing, and honestly, that would have been it. He had that. Could you imagine though if he actually cranked on it? High elbow guillotine, cranking on Jake Paul. He lost the fight regardless, who cares? Let's finish it this way. He probably would have got penalized, but it would have made the MMA fight way bigger. I don't know exactly where they're going to do it, maybe on the PFL because Jake's there. But in the MMA fight, you got kicks, different kind of takedowns. The clinch is very different from boxing. You have 4-ounce gloves, which is something Nate is much more used to. And if the fight hits the ground, it's over. It is completely over. If the fight hits the ground, Jake probably doesn't last more than 30 seconds. He is a big, strong guy. He has a little bit of a wrestling background, but it's so different when ground and pound's involved, submissions are involved, and all those clinches that you saw in boxing would be many opportunities for Nate Diaz to trip out Jake Paul. And people talk about Nate Diaz's boxing and MMA. His best work, especially as of late, has been in the clinch against the fence because he could find trips on you. The elbows and knees with 4-ounce gloves, it's gonna be hard to block those punches he throws at you. And remember, when he hurt Anthony Pettis in the clinch, it was with knees. He had a hard time, even from distance, against Pettis like he had against Jake Paul, but everything changed in the Pettis fight when Nate Diaz got into the clinch. So all credit to Jake Paul for a great boxing performance. He outright beat Nate Diaz. He won almost every single round. He dropped him, but he has to get ready for this MMA fight now. He's got to get ready for the takedown defense. He's going to get ready for all the kicks, the elbows and knees in the clinch, especially getting up from the ground and escaping submissions. There's probably way too much to ask from Jake. There's too much to learn in such a little time for him. I mean, it took him how many years to become this level of boxer? In the beginning, he was pretty bad. And it took him, what, has it been like 4 or 5 years since? To develop to a decent boxer. Now try to learn all this MMA stuff in a few months, or maybe a year. Nate doesn't have that much time. There's no way he learns all of that, even in a year.